In the criminal justice system, the people are represented by two separate yet equally important groups: the police who investigate crime and the district attorneys who prosecute the offenders. These are their stories.
Hello, Detective Richmonda speaking. Yes, I can be there in 15 minutes. You have a suspect list? All right, I'm on my way.
You know, multiple stab wounds, but apparently he didn't die from it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you want, doggy? You're fine. Okay. But yeah. So apparently, clearly he was drowned by someone. You know, it could be possible suicide. We haven't really ruled that out yet. But you know, we have investigators looking into his background if there could be any sort of reason.
And given that the dog is looking at the right side of her body, maybe that's where we'll find some DNA prints.
Oh yeah. Yeah, look, we should definitely print. We should get some caution tape and put it around so we don't have anyone entering the crime scene.
Alright, so I see some remnants of possible bruises on the neck and the side of her body.
Oh yeah.
Alright, so let's put them back under, and I think we're all set for now.
Alright.
Come on, dog. So, Detective Margaret, what else can we add to the list?
Alright, so we just come back from, you know, analyzing Clarence's murder scene. And he didn't die from the multiple stab wounds. He actually died from drowning. So clearly this was a premeditated murder. So what have you got for a possible suspect so far?
Yeah, so for our suspect list, we're going to start with Hastings, and I have some of my fellow detectives working on investigating his background right now. We also have other suspects, such as his brother Richard, but as we know in this type of case, it's very unlikely that very close family members are the ones who commit the murder. So straying away from close family, we're going to move to Queen Elizabeth, and with her daughter Anne. As of right now, this is our suspect list. We are still accumulating more as we speak.
Alright, yeah, because we got to remember that, you know, Clarence was in jail. You know, someone smart enough to take him out of jail and throw his body into the river at night without anyone noticing.
And we have to remember that also in this type of murder, many times the people that commit the murder don't want to have the blood directly on their hands. So sometimes they use outside forces or messengers to go kill the person instead. So we have to keep that in mind.
So let's start by investigating Hastings' background, Richard, Queen Elizabeth.
And so our option of suicide right now can be crossed off. We are sure that it's murder, and then we just have to go to the suspect list and figure out who it was.
Yeah.
All right, good work.
Sounds like a plan.
Hello, Hastings.
Hello.
I'm Detective Rich Monda, and I'm here to ask you a few questions to help with our investigation for our case that we're working on.
Okay.
So, what were your whereabouts last night at around 11 p.m.?
As usual, I was with my best friend, Richard. We were just having a good time, chilling.
And you do this often?
Yeah, of course. Richard's my best friend. We hang out all the time.
Alright, so as you know, Clarence is Richmond's brother. What is your personal connection to him?
Clarence is Richard's brother, and, we grew up as kids ever since we were little. And I always viewed Clarence as my little brother.
Uh-huh. So unfortunately this morning we found Clarence's body in the river. What do you have to say about this?
No, that can't be. That cannot be. Oh my God. No. What about Clarence's wife and kids? Oh my God, what's gonna happen to them? No.
Yes, it is very unfortunate, and my team and I are trying our best to find out who the killer was. And looking into your past, we found that you have a very interesting criminal record and that you were in jail. So why were you in jail?
Well, let's just say that I was on the wrong side of history. And ever since then, I was trying to make amends. And, Richard, he was my best friend, and he always stuck by my side.
Right, so we also found that you and Clarence were in jail, the same jail, at around the same time. So you must know a lot about what he was doing while he was there. So do you have any idea who might have a motive for killing him and why?
Clarence is a good guy. He has good intentions. I don't know anyone who would try to hurt him. And I just left jail yesterday, and I saw Clarence going in, and I was just shocked, because he's a good person. I don't know what he did to get himself into jail.
All right, thank you. I think that's all the information we need. We will be in town, so if we need you anymore, we will be sure to contact you. Thank you for your help.
Thank you.
Hello, Richard.
Hello, Detective Richmond. Can I ask you again why you're in my house and why I'm being questioned out of the blue?
It's Detective Rich Monda, and I'm here investigating the case of the murder of your brother. So, to start off this investigation, I'd like to ask you, what was your relationship with Clarence growing up, more recently? What was your dynamic like?
Clarence was my older brother, I always looked up to him, looked up to Edward. They're both dead now. Nothing else to say. I miss him.
Alright, so the night of Clarence's murder, what were your whereabouts?
I was with Hastings. We were just at his house, just hanging out. I had nothing. I had no clue about what Clarence was doing. As far as I knew, he was in prison.
Alright, so looking into a little bit of your family history, I know that you were born with a physical deformity and your brother wasn't, and he often got a lot of praise. So were you ever jealous of him? Were you ever wanting to be in his position, a little mad at him for that?
No, I'm perfectly content with myself, thank you.
Alright, then, do you know anyone who may have had it out for him if you apparently did not?
We're both in the gang of Yorks, Anyone from the Lancaster side could have had it out for us. Who knows? There's just tons of people in the Lancaster gang. You gotta ask them. You can't ask me about this.
Right, so your involvement in gangs, how did that impact your brother's life? Do you think anyone from your gang, from your circle, could have had it out for him because of you?
He did commit a lot of acts with me while we were both in the gang, but you know what? He spent the rest of his life repenting for it. All he ever did was want to take care of his wife and his children, and I feel bad for them now. What are they going to do now? But I know that he never wanted any part of the gang life. He was a good soul.
You don't seem to be showing a very emotional response to this very hard subject matter.
I'm a composed man. It's hard keeping myself together through, this very hard time, but it would just be best if the police department could respect my privacy and my family's.
Do you know why your brother was in jail, Richard?
Yeah, it was through gang activity, his participation in, the gang of Yorks, just through that, and him being on the wrong side at the wrong place, the wrong time.
Alright, so I was actually just informed that my team is just starting to look to see if they can find any DNA evidence about...
So, You know, I've had enough of this, alright? If you want to ask me more questions, please talk to my lawyer, Buckingham. I'll give you his card and his number, but I don't want any more questions. All I want is just some privacy so I can mourn my brother's loss. If that's okay with you, Detective Richmond.
Richmonda, of course.
Yeah.
Thank
I'll
you.
see you out. Alright. Nice talking with you.
All right, Queen Elizabeth. I know that your husband just died, and I'm very, very sorry for your loss. And I also know that after your husband died, Clarence is next in line to be the leader of the York gang. So how do you feel about this? Hello, ma'am.
Are you the detective I called?
Yes, I'm Detective Richmonda. Nice to meet you. How can I help?
Well, nice to meet you too. See that house over there? I've been living in that house for a long time. And in all that time, I've never smelled anything so nasty as what's been coming out of that house for the past few days.
I can take a look if you'd like.
Yeah, smells like my Spanish dip is going wrong.
Well, that's not good.
Yeah,
I can go right now. Thank you, ma'am.
My service.
Hello? Anne? Anyone home? Oh, it does reek. Hello? Anyone home? It's the police. Hello, Anne? Oh, it's getting worse. Hello? Anyone home? Hello, knock knock, it's the police, open up. Oh gosh. Oh, this does not look like her blood. Stab wounds and the murder weapon. And caution tape so that no one comes near the active crime scene. And a flower with the note left. Alright, this is all evidence. I'll bring it back to my lab. And someone needs to take care of the smell.
I ran the DNA sample from Anne's crime scene, and the DNA matched to Richard. So, there you have it.
Alright, thank you. Hello, Your Honor.
Hello, Detective Richmonda.
So my team and I have found DNA evidence from Anne's crime scene, and we've sent it to the lab, and they've found proof that Richard's DNA was at the crime scene. So can we please have a warrant to search Richard's house and arrest him?
Yeah, I guess that's evidence for Richard's involvement in Anne's murder. Yeah, request granted. You may leave.
Thank you. Richard, this is Detective Richmonda of the NYPD. You have the right to remain silent. You're being arrested for the murder of Lady Anne. Anything you say, canon will be held against you in a court of law.
I didn't do anything. I want my lawyer. Call Buckingham.
Come on.
Alright, Detective Richmonda. We've accumulated evidence that Richard was in fact the killer of Anne and Clarence. The only question is, why? Why would he do something like that?
Right, so looking into Richard's motive here, we know that he had a very unhealthy and very overpowering thirst for power. So we know that he really wanted to be king, he really wanted this control, and that's really what drove him, what motivated him to use violence in order to reach this end goal that he had. So we also know, looking into his history, that unfortunately gangs played a very big role in his life and in his community. So we know that he was part of the York gang, which fought against the Lancaster gang. So we know that growing up he was around a lot of violence. So this definitely influenced him and the way that he chose to show his outrage and his desire to be king.
Also, you know, he had a physical deformity. The way he walked.
Oh my gosh. Sir, are you okay? Oh my god.
A lot of self-insecurities, and all this could have played into like him growing up to be a cold, emotionless man, you know, not having enough relationships, just being emotionally unstable, you know.
So what was his relationship with his parents, like his mother growing up?
I mean, I did some research. I don't think his mother loved him very much. He didn't really have a good relationship with his brothers either. He always despised them, jealousy, anger. He clearly had all of these anger issues. It all just boiled down into, you know, a bad person.
Right, so looking into the psychology of Richard and trying to tell us what kind of person he is, we gather evidence about what a serial killer is. And a serial killer is someone who commits a series of murders, but they typically don't have a motive for it. And they're usually very unpredictable behavior. So we really can't classify Richard as a serial killer because he definitely did have motive in the majority of his killings. As a psychopath, which is someone suffering from chronic mental disorders with violent social behavior, this more closely resembles Richard because he was definitely violent, and there's very possible that he had some mental disorders. So we're kind of navigating around that as well, and it kind of leads us to the question about humanity and all of this. Richard is, of course, a human, but what does it mean to have humanity and to be sane? He so easily killed his family, he so easily killed his close friends, so how does he maintain a sense of himself? How does he not lose himself along the way? And did he? These are the real questions we have to ask, and I doubt that he had humanity after killing these people that were the closest to him.
Your Honor. So, I checked on the evidence of the DNA sample for this court case, and apparently couldn't find the DNA evidence anymore.
Well, that sums up that. Case dismissed.
Oh my gosh!
What the fuck? I'm dead. You can't shut me.
Oh, you're actually dead. Hello, ma'am.
Are you the detective I called?
Yes. I can't do it.
Keep my hands on myself.